Добрый день, and welcome to another episode of Room 36. Today we have Oleksiy on the show.
Hey.
Hey man,
Hey, Daniel.
tell me something about yourself. I don't know you that well.
I don't know you so well either. Well, about myself, I'm a computer programmer, and actually I'm a researcher working on machine learning systems and natural language processing tasks. I think that's a major part of my life, and the other major part of my life is music. So I'm a trained classic pianist, and I still do it from
Okay,
time to
do you
time.
play drums? Because I just saw you making some beats
body
with your
drum.
body.
Yeah, that's because I'm nervous.
I'm nervous too. We have a few minutes and then it will go away.
Yeah, I always felt jealous for drummers, and I wanted to emulate them, but I didn't have a drum set, so I started to use my body.
Yeah, or a cajon. Have you ever played a cajon?
Not really, because when I started doing body drumming, there just wasn't as popular or
Sure.
known.
Oh, maybe sometime we should play on the street. Have you ever played body drums on the street?
Not body drums. I played guitar,
Okay, you've done some busking in Kiev?
in Kharkiv.
In Kharkiv.
Originally, I'm from Kharkiv. That's where I spent my youth.
I did not know that. From Kharkiv.
Yeah, I moved to Kyiv only like 4 years ago.
Me too. What month?
February.
Of 2017?
Yeah.
Okay. I moved December. No, I moved in February 2017. I came here in December and then I left. February 2017 I came back and stayed. So it was a magical month in the world. Oleksiy and Daniel moved to Kyiv.
Yeah. February 6th.
I want to give you a scenario. It's a ridiculous scenario, but I'm curious to see how you react to this. So, Oleksiy, you're on a boat out at sea off the coast, somewhere in the Mediterranean. Let's say about 10 kilometers out. No. 15 kilometers out at sea. And your boat is sinking. You have a choice between 3 things that you can take with you in the water. By the way, can you swim?
Yes, I can, but not 15 kilometers.
I think you have a chance. There's no sharks. There's not many sharks out there, I don't think. I don't know. So, your 3 items are your small puppy, who happens to be on the boat with you. You happen to have $500,000 with you in a box. Or your cell phone, which has reception.
And I only can take one?
You can only take one with you, yeah.
My puppy, my phone, or money?
Yeah. What you gonna pick?
Sorry about that, but I would pick a phone.
You'd pick the phone.
Poor puppy.
You know, maybe your puppy can swim.
Maybe.
Yeah, but you can't touch him the whole time. You just gotta hope that he can swim 15 kilometers. Why not the money?
What do you use of money when you're about to sink?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and I don't feel much like emotions towards money, so
Okay. What does money mean to you, if you don't mind me asking?
it's a way to essentially to buy food and to do things that I like, to fuel, but not much beyond that.
Okay. What's your motivation then? Let's say regarding work. You go to work, you get compensated for it. If your primary motivation isn't money, what would it be?
Well, my work is full of interesting problems, and these problems, they become bigger and bigger as you grow and as you progress, and you can even dream of some futuristic, artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence, things like, and that's what motivated me, like interesting tasks, interesting problems.
Okay, you're a problem solver. Well, I think we should do a cheers to problem solving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's not coffee, but an adult beverage is how we can call it.
Yeah. It's a
So, what was life like in Kharkiv before you moved to Kyiv?
It was fun because I had a lot of friends. Actually, the majority of my friends are still in Kharkiv. And I've grown up there, so I went to university. I formed my first band when I was at age 9, I think. And
Age 9?
9.
You were 9 years old when you had your first band?
Yeah, it was 6th grade. Yeah, and me and boys, my friends, we were fans of the Beatles. And we decided to make a Beatles clone.
Hell yeah. Did you call it Zhuki?
It has a stupid name, but it actually existed for 6 years, I think. So
Okay.
we went to university, and it was still there before we disbanded, and I joined another. Well, yeah, the bottom line is that I had a lot of friends from music scene, and then I started to rent a room in a коммунальная квартира. It's like shared apartment, when there is a lot of families sharing this same large space, and they have this shared kitchen and everything, and you have only one room in it. And it was in the city center. It was on the first floor, and it had a window where you can come through this window to it. So a lot of my friends who had parties in that area would come through the window to stay at night sometimes, and
Why wouldn't they come through the door?
because even if this place was cheap, and this room was cheap, because there was a lot of families who lived there forever.
Okay.
The district was very nice, and the whole building was really quite expensive. And there was some, politicians living in the same entrance, and there was security guards. And they would not allow my friends to come after 11 p.m. say.
Yeah.
So that's why they came through the window.
And did you have house parties with live music there?
All the time.
Yeah. Did your neighbors complain?
Not really. Most of the rooms were for rent, and it was usually students who ran them. So usually my neighbors would join the party. There was some people who lived there forever, but they were old, and I really feel bad for that now.
Oh man, just a memory comes to mind. Before I came here, I was a few minutes late because I stopped to get a coffee, and it was just like a latte in a small store, and there was an old lady there, an elderly lady, and she said, "Synok, buy me a coffee," and I said, "Okay, it's fine." Actually, I ordered one latte, and she's like 2, and I said, "Okay, that's fine." Yeah, but what was so interesting was she grabbed me by the shoulders, and she was like, you have to exercise, you have to do sports. I run 5 kilometers every day, is what she said. And I thought, oh my God. And she said she's 80 years old.
Yeah. So you bought her coffee, and now you got a good advice.
I was inspired. Yeah, I wanted to say it on the podcast. Is this a common thing where you have 80-year-old people here running 5 kilometers per day?
I don't think.
No?
She's an exceptional one. You're lucky to buy coffee to such an exceptional lady.
Yeah, I think I have a crush. But I get the impression you have a lot of stronger, older people here. I see people working out on the streets at the age of 70, 80 very often.
Well, judging by my own grandparents, they worked till the mid-70s. My grandmother worked till she's 80. I think that's because she would become bored if she would just go home and sit there. In the end, last year she abandoned work, and went to sit home, and indeed she got bored. So I think the people that you see that are older and work, they do it for money first, and maybe to still be active.
This ties into the previous topic. We were talking about, why do people work? Is it for something like just to have something to do, for money? And my question for you as an AI expert, can I call you? Specialist?
Engineer.
Is what will people do in the future if all the work is done by robots, technology?
There are books written on that, like by people much smarter than I am.
I don't know. I saw you reading a book when I came outside. Was it about that?
It was Ozzy Osbourne's autobiography.
Okay. So yeah, what are people gonna do?
I would hope that they would do all sorts of creative things, like writing poems, making music, inventing new stuff. But from what I see now, like the progress is already permits people work less than used to work 100 years ago, say. But they still work, and they work apparently more and more, not less. So it seems to me that people would find something to do anyway, even if there's no real reason to work. Because they do now. A lot of people work now, even if they could work less. They could work 4 hours per day, or to feed themselves.
Do you think there would be a lot of depression if people suddenly woke up and the government said, you don't have to work, it's all taken care of?
Yeah, I think so. So work greatly organizes your time and gives you, motivation to live. And without, if you just wake up one day and you have no work and you have all this money and don't know what to do, you'll be depressed for sure. So that's why you should have a gradual and slow transition to that. So you should educate people. You should, invest more into arts, I think.
Yeah.
Arts and science. Probably science won't end with, like, even if you don't have to work, there always will be plenty of problems to solve. So I think we should get prepared to that. Maybe not now, but in some time from now.
Do you believe in this idea of universal basic income?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Yes and no. Like, I think that people would definitely feel more like safer, and if they know that they always have an income, and probably a lot of people would start working on something that they really like and start to pursue their true goals instead of just working,
like a slave.
Yeah. But at the same time, I can imagine that some people may misuse this universal income.
Sure.
Because it's always easier to just go and buy a drink. Say.
Yeah, that's true.
But if I just had to say to yes or no, I would say yes, I'm a universal income proponent.
So you and I met under in the context of Grammarly. You work for Grammarly. I work for a company that does English lessons for Grammarly. And how long have you been working there? Tell me about your experience getting into Grammarly and how it's been overall in the company for you.
So I've been working for Grammarly for 4 years, since February 6th, 2017. That's the day that I moved
That's
to Kyiv.
interesting. I moved here February 13, 1 week after you.
Yeah. Grammarly was the reason why I moved to Kyiv.
Okay.
So I rent an apartment close to the office, so everything was arranged around Grammarly. And I've heard a lot of good things about Grammarly before that. They had a lot, and still they have a lot of smart people doing tech talks. And sometimes they did the talks in Kharkiv, and I visited all of them, I think. So I was just adored the people who work there. And I also heard that Grammarly does a lot of social goods,
Yeah.
and that's what attracted me as well.
What are some examples of social giving back that they do?
Well, back at that time, one of the Grammarlians was an active member of Ahentizmin. So it's like organization that tries to change the city space for better, starting from better science, more inclusive, and things like that. That's what I remember from back then. That was what I heard from a lot of charity. So oftentimes they don't even talk about the things they do. Sometimes it's just some personal, like Grammarlians doing some things and Grammarly just backing up. So it's a great vibe and great place to work on.
Sure. Cool to be part of a company that's giving back, that has a good mission that you're aligned with. Where did you work before Grammarly?
Before Grammarly, I used to work
at McDonald's.
At McDonald's, never at McDonald's, sorry. At a startup called Data Robot, which is a Boston-based startup.
Was it about data or was it about dating?
It was about data. They tried to automate machine learning stuff. They're doing pretty well, and they are closer to what you imagine what a startup should look like. So, plenty of perks, but also a lot of work. And they pay a lot if you work a lot. And they motivate you to work extra hours, long hours. And if I'd been younger, I'd be probably happy to do that, because I used to do that, and it's fun when you're 20. Not so fun when you're 30 plus.
I thought you were 20 years old. 30 plus? Yeah.
36.
36? Oh, you look young for your age. I'm all seriousness, I thought you were, I don't know, 30. Anyways, how'd you get your foot in the door in machine learning?
I used to work at local Ukrainian startup who do online advertising, showing you advertisements.
Yeah.
And that's where I first heard of machine learning, because you have to pick which advertisement to show to which people. You have to make a match. And after you do some rule-based match, you start to thinking, what's more can I do? And then you learn about machine learning. So that's where I learned about it. And then I moved to another company where I worked for 4.5 years. It was a startup called Publish This. And it was a content recommendation system. So you would like some articles or entities on Facebook, like sportsmen and things like that, and it would recommend you pages, web pages, and it has more to it. It doesn't really matter, but that's when I learned about natural language processing, where you teach computers to understand human language and doing something of it. And it's really blown my mind. I decided, like, wow, machine learning computers can read and human language. They can, back then it was futuristic, but they could generate language as well. And I started learning about it, and that was where it clicked. Like, I know about the company called Grammarly, but hey, they are doing natural language processing as well. That's at the core of their product. And that's probably not probably, but it's definitely the biggest natural language processing place to be at in Ukraine, if not in the world.
What do you think are some major milestones that the world has to look forward to in terms of this field? Like, say, in the next 5-10 years, what developments will take place in regards to machine learning interacting with human language?
I don't think there will be a large breakthrough, like nothing revolutionary, but it will become better, more robust. So you would talk to your phone without thinking that you're talking to your phone, not trying to construct your phrases, not trying to speak artificially clearly, so it would understand you. So you would just talk it. It would maintain more context. It would know more about you, probably, so it become easier to communicate.
I wonder what areas of life will change as a result of that. You know, how's my life going to improve, my everyday life, in regards to this?
I'm biased because I work in the field of communication assistance. So I what I can immediately comes up at my mind is what Grammarly does. It's trying to improve communication. You know, it's help you to phrase to find proper words. It tries to make your writings fits a particular audience. So
ultimately, the outcome sounds like is improved communication, which is always a plus. If everybody can communicate better with each other.
That's just one example, but I'm biased, and that's what come to my mind. All in all, I don't think. Again, no major shifts in the next 5 years. So, but the life will just become more convenient. You know, the system will become smarter and.
What else is going to improve in the next few years, aside from communication? Will our public transport improve in Kyiv? If it opens up again, ever again?
Well, I hope that Kyiv will take the road and making more pedestrian paths, like closing more roads, and will.
What's the advantage of that?
Happier life.
Yeah, happier life.
I think I learned of that in one of the English lessons. There was a text of the city of Bogota, where they.
In Colombia.
Yeah. Which had a huge problem with drugs and everything, and then they closed a lot of roads. They made it for people, and it leads to you have a lot of street markets. You have street musicians, and people like communicate more closely, and they become happier. And
I'm curious how this, if this addressed the problem of drugs on the streets. Do you think?
Well, to be honest, like the statistics show that it did help there.
Okay.
In that case, I think it's just changes the focus, you know, from heavy drugs that you do because you're unhappy and because you don't have anything to do in your life.
Yeah.
When you feel offended and when you see all this rich and you're a poor man and you have no other choice, so to speak. Or you can do recreational drugs when you're, on the other hand, when you're happy and everything is good and just like.
Yeah. Totally different thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bogota. I went there, by the way, to get a MRI on my foot because I didn't have health insurance. In the US, I broke my foot 2 years ago in Africa. It's another story for another day. But I didn't have insurance in California. It was super expensive to get an MRI. So I flew to Colombia, which was a much cheaper option to fly there. I stayed in some hostel or Airbnb and I found a hospital, and I had no idea that it was like in the most dangerous area or one of the most dangerous areas in Bogota. I found out afterwards. So
and I broke your other leg for.
No, I just went walking there because I saw it on my maps. I was naive. I thought, the city's fine. It feels safe. And walking there, I saw a lot of drugs and prostitutes. And I realized, where am I? How can I get out of here? How far am I from the hospital? And then I took a taxi back so I wouldn't have to walk through that situation. It's a totally different life. When you see that it's so... it's one thing when you see like one person struggling versus like a mass community of people that are all on drugs and all like struggling and depressed. When you see that, it's a different world. It's like the underworld, the underbelly of the city.
Oh, whoa.
Does Kyiv have that? I haven't seen it in Kyiv.
Not in such... No, I don't think.
What about Kharkiv?
Not even in Kharkiv. Kharkiv is relatively fine. It's the second biggest city in Ukraine. maybe smaller cities. I think a lot of things about Kryvyi Rih, and I don't know how true they are, but
Okay. Have you been to Kryvyi Rih?
no.
Besides Kiev, Kharkiv, do you have a favorite city in Ukraine?
In Ukraine?
Or maybe it's not even Kiev or Kharkiv.
Well, Lviv is an obvious choice. Everyone will love Lviv,
Yeah.
of course. I also like Poltava.
Never been. It's close to Kharkiv, yeah.
It's halfway between Kiev and Kharkiv, closer to Kharkiv actually. And
Tell me, what's the charm of Poltava?
I used to go there when I was younger with all these my, alcoholic friends. And what we do, we would take a ticket to last train, and this Elektrichka, it's like a city, not city train, but it was super cheap, so we could buy a ticket like for nothing. And because it was the last train, you were the only people in there, so you had the whole car, and it was like a bar car, and you could do everything in there. And these trains, they go slowly, very slowly, so you had like 3 hours of this party time. Then you go to Poltava in 2 a.m. or something, and then you would go stay up the whole night because you don't have money to rent a place, and you don't even need to. And we have a favorite roof.
Whoa.
We would climb rooftop, like...
Whoa, it's like an abandoned building?
No, it was actually a shopping mall, but...
How'd you get up on the roof?
There was like a fence, and you go to a fence, and then you kind of jump, and you have this fire...
Ladder.
Yeah. So somebody... I had actually a lot of friends from Poltava, and they showed me that path to go to a roof. We did it like 3 or 4 times, I think.
And then would you sleep on the roof, or you wouldn't sleep
We didn't sleep. Like we would go to at 5 or 6 in the morning back to the train station and get the same train back to Kharkiv. Yeah, that's how we did.
Good times.
Good times.
Yeah. Maybe it's my next vacation, Poltava. I'll be looking for this mall.
Жовтень, it's called.
Жовтень, like the
October.
Cinema. It's like our cinema in Kiev, yeah?
There's plenty of places called October or Žovteń in Ukraine because it's named after the October Revolution of 1917s, where the...
No, I don't know as much about it as I should.
Well, it's the biggest event of the Soviet Union because it's when Bolsheviks overtook in St. Petersburg, and the Tsar
collapsed, which was what, hundreds of years or something.
Yeah, it was in 1917.
But I mean, the Tsarist regime, it was like for hundreds of years that this lasted.
Oh yeah. So that's a great holiday in the Soviet Union, and a lot of places and streets and everything was called after it, and Žovteń because it's like October Revolution.
It's my birthday month, October.
Oh.
When's your birthday, man?
In March.
Oh, I think I asked you recently.
It's
March 29?
10th.
Uh-huh.
It's my
happy birthday.
Younger daughter birthday on March 27th.
Ah, yeah, 27. Okay. Where else can I go in Ukraine to have a nice vacation? And do you like to travel at all? Is it something fun for you, or you're not a big traveler?
Again, I used to travel when I was younger, when I was a student, and it was cool, but since then I don't travel that much, so I'm not the right person to ask.
I know you speak a little bit of French. Have you been to France?
Yeah, in Paris for just 3 days.
Do you have a favorite city overseas, abroad that you've been to?
If I should name one, I would name Amsterdam, probably.
Okay.
I
went with my mom.
No, you should try to go by.
Yeah, maybe I should go without my
girlfriend
mom. Shout out to my mom. Love you, mom. With a girlfriend, yeah, good idea. When are we gonna travel again? I mean, when are we gonna be able to travel again to Europe? Any idea?
I'm not the right person to ask, but I'm kind of feel good about not feeling bad about not going anywhere, like, because I travel not that much, and a lot of my friends do, and it's a common talk to know. Well, last weekend we've been there and we've been there, and the travels. My friends travel far and far more. Like they travel on some islands, some obscure countries. So Europe is not a cool destination anymore. And I don't travel that much, so I kind of feel good about not.
I have a friend, more like acquaintance or kind of a mentor even, who I look up to, and he believes that people who like to travel a lot, it's controversial, not saying I agree with this, he believes that people who travel a lot are very restless and they don't want to solve their like situation at home or in their current place. So they travel to forget about this. I thought, interesting idea. I've had those moments in my life a lot. Now I'm not traveling, except to Irpin, where I live.
Well,
Kamu kak?
Yeah, traveling is one way to organize your time. You know, it's like a hobby. It's actually interesting though.
How do you relax if you're working too much and you need a break?
Music, I think. Yeah. It's if you have a good music session, it's help you to completely clear your mind. And
let's get more into this. How often do you play music with people?
Oh, I haven't played with people for a long time. We had a few sessions with my coworkers at company holidays, which is a great thing about Grammarly because there is plenty of musicians there, and we had music parties all the time. We had just one event a couple of days ago.
Happy birthday, Grammarly.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like some people, they are so professional as musicians. It was whoa. But yeah, in the last 5 years, I think this was the only times where I played with other people's. After I moved to Kyiv, I just don't have.
Do you sing?
As a hobbyist, so in all my bands I was a back singer, never a lead singer. Well, I was a lead singer once, but.
And you usually play bass or guitar? Or
a guitar, yeah.
Guitar, okay.
I played bass one with a punk rock band, with a trash punk rock band.
Oh, that sounds cool.
They just lost their bass player, a girl like who made another, and they have to find a replacement quickly. And they say, "Hey, you know how to play guitar, right? So you could pick up bass quickly."
If you were gonna join any band right now, what genre would you choose for your band?
That's a good question because I'm oscillating between jazz.
Yeah, you like jazz?
For the last years. Yeah, I started doing some improvisation. I take improvisation lessons. And
improvisation lessons for what exactly?
For piano, for just piano.
I don't know, man. We gotta do something. We gotta play some music together sometime.
Sure.
I like on the podcast where we make some plans for our personal life.
And then you filmed and then you agreed and you have no choice other than...
Oh yeah, I forgot we're on the podcast.
But anyway, yeah, I'm oscillating between jazz and doing some indie rock thing. Like
okay. Not trash punk?
Not trash punk. I do like grungy, kind of.
An example of a band, maybe?
The Cooper Temple Close is my favorite, I would say.
I don't know them.
They disbanded 10 years ago and they're not really well known, but I think they are underrated, of course.
Okay. Have you got a favorite Ukrainian band?
What bands do we have here?
Sounds like no.
Well, I could answer that question like 10 years ago. I could answer it with the Kharkiv local scene, but most of these bands are disbanded by now. Well, from what I listen, they're not. Well, there is a band called Daleka. They are based in Berlin, but their leader, singer, is from Ukraine, and they play jazz and they play Ukrainian folk songs in a jazz style.
Whoa! And they're sang in Ukrainian.
Yeah. Sometimes they do German folk song as well, but mostly it's Ukrainian.
Okay, I want to come back to this, but I have a question. I hear you speaking in Ukrainian, usually, but you grew up in Kharkiv. Is it common? I thought that Russian was the more commonly spoken language in Kharkiv.
Yeah, it is. I made a transition when my older daughter was born. I decided that she should grow in a family where she hears Ukrainian a lot.
Hell yeah.
So it becomes her native language, not like mine. So I tried, but it was really hard when you were in Kharkiv, when all your friends remember you speaking Russian. It's really weird feeling.
So you speak Russian, Alex? I'm just joking.
Well,
I know you do.
Yeah, but then I moved to Kyiv, and it was much easier because, and also you feel uncomfortable because your Ukrainian is not perfect, right? And you do all sorts of stupid mistakes when you only start speaking it, and you feel uncomfortable. But when you move to Kyiv and nobody knows you, you just start speaking Ukrainian like, fuck it, no matter what. That's how I speak. It might be not perfect language, but they didn't know that I can speak proper Russian, so it's like...
It's a nice thing.
And then you start, and when you do, it becomes easier and easier and easier.
Do you feel like a different person when you speak a different language?
I used to, definitely, for the first months or even years. I feel like I'm pretending to be someone else. It was a weird feeling as well. Nowadays, it's vice versa. When I speak Russian, I feel like...
like you're fake.
like I'm fake. And also I found that I can't really speak proper Russian anymore.
Interesting.
I use Ukrainian words all the time.
Have you been out to the West and heard all those dialects in Ukrainian?
Yeah, you mean like Carpathian?
Yeah, the Carpathians. And is it easy for you to understand them? I understand 0% for the record. In Kyiv, maybe 30% of Ukrainian, but I've been to the mountains and 0. I don't know. Is that Ukrainian?
Not 100% for sure.
It sounds beautiful though. Yeah. So I'm striving to be like you and switch to Ukrainian soon, but I'm not there yet. I have a long ways to go. Definitely.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'll have to start listening to some to that band in Berlin.
Laleka.
Laleka? Shout out to Laleka.
Yeah.
How do you spell their name?
They're written in Latin, so like L-E-L-E-K-A.
Ah, Laleka.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have an accent above the first E, like in French and all this.
Oh, I don't... Yeah.
Well, anyway, they're about to release their first full album because they had a couple of short albums and EPs, but now they're recording and they are fundraising. They're on Patreon.
You know, as a musician, I don't know a lot of things about the music industry.
Me too.
Let me ask you a very dumb question, but I should know this. What's the difference between an EP and an album? Is it the track count?
It's a size. Like EP is like extended play, right? I think it's usually have
5 tracks?
5 tracks, 6 tracks, depending on.
And then if you have 7, it's an album, or like what's the bare minimum? You know?
It's probably how you feel about it.
Okay.
If you feel it's a complete piece of work.
Yeah, what if those 5 tracks are like 15 minutes each?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. You talked about jazz improv. You're taking some lessons in jazz improv. What have you learned? What's the process like?
Well, again, I'm trained as a classic pianist, so I learned a lot of classic harmony.
You said you're trained. You mean like you studied it in?
Well, in Kharkiv, I graduated a music college as a piano player.
Yeah, you have many sides, man. You're this tech guy and then this music guy. As a piano player.
As a piano player, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a music harmony, which are rules, how you build the chord progressions and how it interacts.
Mm-hmm.
And in classic harmony, like a classic harmony, Viennese classic, it's very strict.
Viennese,
yeah. And there is a relatively small number of rules out of which you build the whole classic heritage. And and then comes another composer and it breaks the rules a little bit. And it's like, whoa, he made this, or she made this,
All you have to do is break the rules.
A little bit.
A little bit, not too much.
Until 20th century, when 20th century come, there were no rules anymore. And probably that's why nobody listens to academic music of 20th century really that much.
Do you have a piano?
Yeah, I have two.
You have two pianos. Are we talking about like a keyboard or a piano?
I have both. I have an acoustic piano and a digital piano.
Mm-hmm.
Digital piano is really great these days.
How many keys? How big is it?
It's like a proper piano, 88 keys.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a difference between synthesizers and digital piano. And a good digital piano could be even... Well, I know a lot of pianists would hate me, but really I like good digital piano more than a lot of crappy acoustic pianos.
Mm-hmm. Wow, can't believe you said that. I'm joking.
Well, the progress is
Why?
They're always perfectly tuned. That's
true.
Not a problem, but the key weights, like acoustic pianos always have problems with the touch, So different keys may have different weight, and that's a problem on acoustic pianos and bad acoustic pianos. In simple terms, some keys may play louder than other one, just because the mechanics is not perfectly balanced or tuned or somewhere. Whereas digital pianos don't have this problem at all, and
you can choose from a variety of sounds.
That doesn't really matter. I think good digital piano should only have one or two sounds. I never switch. I only use one, so that's not a synthesizer. That's not how you use them. They should do one sound, but they do it well.
Do you record songs or make your own songs of any style?
No, I used to write some music when I was playing in bands sometimes, but now I just don't
lyrics or the instrumental part?
Instrumental parts. I always ask somebody to write lyrics.
Okay. Oh, perfect. We can collaborate. I prefer the lyric side personally, over the instrumental side.
Yeah, I always feel for people who can just make lyrics out of nothing. They just arrange words and somebody have some hazy, but it has some idea behind it, and it was like, wow.
I feel jealous of people who have a piano.
Well, piano is easier. I think Bach put it 300 years ago that playing keyboard instrument is easy. You just press the right key at the right time, and that's it.
Yeah. How'd you get your piano in your home? Is my question.
Грузчики.
They brought it up for you or what? From Kharkiv? Or you bought it here or what?
I had one in Kharkiv. I sold it when I moved. But in Kyiv I bought another one. There is a company that restore old instruments. Not very old, but like from 70s or 80s. There are plenty of there. They refurbish them or...
And if you don't mind me asking, do you rent your apartment or you own your apartment?